kids thinking about themselves being in these seats. And I when I first became an astronaut in 1998, I was riding on the back of a fire truck celebrating John Glenn's return to flight on a space shuttle. And I saw these two little kids. They had on orange pumpkin suits. And when their dad turned them around to point to look at me on the fire truck, and it was almost as though when they saw my face, they started launching into space with rocket fuel because they were inspired, because they saw someone who looked like them. And I think that if we can reignite this dream through SpaceX's launch, through the partnership with NASA, we can get so many more kids to believe in themselves and know that they can be just like Doug and Bob flying on the SpaceX Dragon.
Absolutely. I mean, it's really just breathtaking to see them there in their suits now and looking at the screens in front of them. Lauren, I know we've talked a lot about the spacecraft. We've heard about that, but for folks that maybe are just tuning in, what are they looking at in front of them now?
Yeah, so they have 3 different touch screens in front of them. Overall, that whole assembly there is called the control panel. So you'll have those 3 LCD touch screens in front of them where they have, the displays are showing them details on the vehicle's pressure, its temperature, there's audio control. That center screen has the procedures that they're going through today on day of launch. You can also see the vehicle's attitude. You can see its velocity, its apogee, its perigee, its inclination, details on the status of the hatch, the thermal control system loops, basically all the cool stuff that helps them have situational awareness of the vehicle. That's displayed on those displays. Additionally, there are some actual buttons on that button panel that you see down below. And some of the things that allow them to do is if the crew ever needed to do any sort of manual overrides like that right in the middle, right underneath that center LCD screen, that's the crew's ability to initiate an abort. It's called an abort handle, and it's right in the middle where both crew members could use it if they needed to. And the audio controls are also on those button panels. When they're not in their suits, there's actually speakers that are coming off of the control panel that allow them to hear mission control, hear the core, hear ISS, when they're not in their suits where the audio systems are integrated into that.
And we see them using the touch screens now. Leland, what's your take on this? Because this has got to look totally different from what you were looking at during shuttle.
Touch screens. I mean, we had these displays and these buttons, and it was one of those moments when I'm looking at this now when I had knee boards that had procedures and things on there, and the procedures are now all run in that middle screen, and the malfunctions and the things that you do to mitigate problems with the vehicle if something happens, it's all controlled right there with the two of them. And so it's a radical departure from what we did with the shuttle, but it's again ushering in this new era of space travel.
For post-ingress brief and a check on how that suit air feels about now.
And we're going to listen now for an announcement
We're ready.
about hatch closer.
Copy. Well, today we are not tracking any issues on Dragon and F9 currently. For a weather update, the weather line that is overhead, which is what you saw when you were ingressing, is now moving offshore. The next radar return is a cell over Orlando, which is expected to be our decision gate for today, and that is currently eroding.
That's good news. Thank you.
Copy. And then one additional item, the Cabo, the orbit site, remains as briefed, so no change there. But I do want to make you aware that that is slightly west of Cabo for go weather. So you just want to target the longitude if needed.
Okay, Dragon copy, slightly west. We'll target the longitude, and the suit air has cooled off, so we appreciate that as well.
Copy, outstanding. Let us know if you have any questions, and we'll keep you posted as the closeout team completes the leak check.
Dragon copy.
So what we actually heard was a little bit more discussion about the weather, still looking at things, and we're about a minute away from an announcement about hatch closure. Excuse me. just joining us, we're at T-minus 1 hour, 55 minutes and counting, and we're expecting an announcement to confirm hatch closure in just a few seconds.
Alrighty then. So, today is the day, May 27th. We have Dragon SpaceX going up. It's a big day. Some people believe it's the first time we'll start to be able to see humans reaching other planets. I believe right now they're closing the hatch. But what's going on is a little more detailed than that, special than that. But this is the first time in a long time since America has done any, I say America, but the United States of America has done any space stuff. Let's see. USA space travel timeline. Are they closing it up? I'll turn back with the volume.
Avionics Dragon, we have good loud and clear.
Avionics loud and clear. Stand by for comm check with the ground segment engineer.
Dragon ground segment on countdown 1, comm check.
Ground segment Dragon, loud and clear.
Ground segment loud and clear. Stand by for comm check by launch control.
Okay, so it looks like we haven't done
Dragon,
anything
launch
since
control and countdown 1, comm check.
2015. So 5 years. But obviously, you know, there's the ISS, International Space Station. That's still up there. But we're sending 2 new astronauts up. I got some info lined up. Let's go check this out. Okay. So this is what we're launching up. So Falcon 9. Let's start here. SpaceX is targeting today for Falcon 9's launch of Crew Dragon's second demonstration mission, Demo 2, from launch out in Florida. Maybe that's why everybody wanted to go to Florida, because they knew that they were going to launch. Anyways, this test flight with NASA astronaut Bob Behnken and Doug Hurley on the Dragon spacecraft. They'll return human space flight to the United States. See what I'm saying there? Everybody else said they didn't really slow down, but we did. You know, NASA's kind of been out of service, decommissioned almost.
Comm checks there, and Lauren, I don't know if you want to describe
Comm check.
more about why that's important. And we heard the acronym GNC. They said guidance, navigation, and control really quickly, and then went back to the acronym GNC. Can you kind of explain to folks what that means?
Yeah,
I think it's
the
making
launch
sure
chief
the
engineer,
comms work
Bala, as you
when
heard
they're
them thanking him
all
towards the
closed
end,
up.
initiated a comm check with all of the different subsystems that those engineers that are on console and those operators today, and talking with the crew, making sure that they were able to communicate with them bidirectionally, and just handing that check off from all of the different stations on console today.
That's cool.
That was really, really
Step
cool.
by
We
step.
obviously don't do that when there's a satellite on top of the rocket, so this is the first time for a real flight that we've done that operation. Just very awesome.
All right, let's get this information down. All right. So the launch opens today 4:30. So for 3-hour difference, it's almost noon here. It's about an hour and a half. So I'll read this. We'll watch a little bit. Then I'm gonna cut it, and we're gonna come right back to it. Watch the launch. Fingers crossed everything goes well. Anyways, backup launch opportunities are available Saturday, May 30th. So if anything goes wrong, they'll postpone it a couple days and get back to it. That is at 3:22 p.m. Eastern. So if you're on the West Coast like me, I'm here in Las Vegas, that will be 12:22. And they have another day, March 31st, Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern. So noon if you're on like West Coast time like I am. Or let's see. Coverage always begins 4 hours before liftoff. That's why things are going down right now. Demo 2 is the final major test for SpaceX human spaceflight system to be certified by NASA for operational crew missions to and from the ISS, International Space Station. So if this goes well, that basically means I don't think SpaceX is a public company, but stocks will go because that's basically like you getting the contract from NASA, which is like government funded and all this, Space Force, all that shit going on. Moving on, SpaceX is returning human spaceflights to the United States with one of the safest, most advanced systems ever built, and NASA's Commercial Crew program. Commercial. So it involves money. The NASA's Commercial Crew company program is a turning point for America's future in space exploration that lays the groundwork for future missions to such places as the moon, Mars, and beyond. To infinity and beyond. So, let's go look at some stuff right quick. The Falcon 9, which is what we're on. That's the Falcon 9 right there. You see it? It's got the crew on top. About 2 hours till liftoff. Looking cool. Looks different in the picture, obviously, because it's like fixed up. But the Falcon 9, that's the Dragon on top, right? That's cool. Yeah, that's the Dragon on top. So, the Falcon 9. This is one of those rockets that returns itself. It's like reusable. Launches off, gets them into orbit or whatnot. They shoot off the astronaut. And then this one comes back down and it lands. They go get it, fix it back up, and use it again later. Awesome. Very awesome. Like, who would have thought of that? Besides, well, somebody would have thought of it eventually. But Elon, kudos for that. Making space travel cheaper so that we can do it. And before we were just polluting. The rockets would break up, land in the ocean. They'd get them, but I don't know what they would do with them. I'm sure they just scrap them. Anyways, let's look here. Falcon 9 is a reusable two-stage rocket designed and manufactured by SpaceX for reliable and safe transport of people and payloads into Earth orbit and beyond. Falcon 9 is the world's first orbital class reusable rocket. Reusability allows SpaceX to refly the most expensive parts of the rocket, which in turn drives down the cost. Like I said, man. Like, this isn't really new to me. However, I've been keeping up every day with it. But you see, they made progress. I need some more root beer. I'm out. They say President Trump's up there. Aircraft One, Air Force One. Air Force One. Got Trump on there. Not sure what he's gonna do. Maybe just watch. Poking their butt. Or they're just flying over. That looks like a flyover. All right. So, Falcon 9 is almost 230 feet tall, 12 feet in diameter, weighs 1.2 million pounds. Payload to Leo, I don't know what Leo is, 50,000 pounds. Payload to GTO, 18,000. Payload to Mars, 8,000. We're an hour away from takeoff or liftoff. First stage. Falcon 9 first stage incorporates 9 Merlin engines, aluminum, lithium alloy tanks containing liquid oxygen and rocket-grade kerosene propellant. Falcon 9 generates more than 1.7 mil pounds of thrust at sea level. Second stage. It's powered by a single Merlin vacuum engine. and it delivers Falcon 9's payload to the desired orbit. The second stage engine ignites a few seconds after stage separation and can be restarted multiple times so they can kind of control where they're going. Kilonewtons. That's cool. Interstage. The interstage is a composite structure that connects the first and second stages. So it's like a coupling and houses pneumatic pushers that allow the first and second stage to separate. So the grid fins that they're on the side. What are these? Four hypersonic grid fins positioned at the base during the rocket during re-entry. So just direction. What's this lady talking about? Social media. Let's keep going. The payload, the Falcon 9 payload. The fairing, the Dragon. The fairing, made of carbon composite material. The fairing protects satellites. I don't believe there's any satellites this time, so is there even any fairing on today? Let's go to the Dragon. This is where the astronauts are sitting right now. It's capable of carrying up to 7 people and cargo in the space. Spacecraft pressurized section. In addition, Dragon can carry cargo in the spacecraft's unpressurized trunk, which can also accommodate secondary payloads. So nobody's sitting up there, but they can for sure carry extra. Here's the engine. NASA. Cute little ad. Anyways, the Merlin, sea level and vacuum. Merlin is a family of rocket engines developed by SpaceX for use on its Falcon 1, Falcon 9, and Falcon Heavy. Merlin engines use a rocket-grade kerosene and liquid oxygen as rocket propellants in a gas-generated power cycle. The Merlin engine was originally designed for recovery and reuse. Liquid oxygen, RP1. Merlin vacuum features a larger exhaust section and a significantly larger expansion nozzle to maximize the engine's efficiency in the vacuum of space. This combustion chamber is regeneratively cooled. That's cool. While the expansion nozzle is radiatively cooled. I don't know how that works. At full power, the Merlin vacuum engine operates with the greatest efficiency ever for an American-made hydrocarbon rocket engine. Let's go back to the audio. Hear about the crew.
As the official return of human launch capability to American shores. And now we want to turn our attention to where the crew is going, the International Space Station. And for that, let's take you to Mission Control in Houston. Gary?
Thank you, Marie. The International Space Station is an incredible facility whose construction, operation, and ongoing science, all these efforts have been made possible by an unprecedented international collaboration. So to tell us more about the space station, we have International Space Station Chief Scientist Kurt Costello with us. Kurt, welcome.
Gary, thank you. It's an amazing day to be here to talk to you about this historic launch to the ISS.
It really is. Now, many viewers may not realize that there is a laboratory that's the size of a football field, 250 miles above the Earth, and that it's been there for nearly 20 years conducting revolutionary science. Can you share with us more about what the space station is and what it's accomplished so far?
Sure, Gary. Over those 20 years, we've conducted over 3,100 experiments on board this space station. Those 3,100 experiments have been done by over 4,100 investigators and represent the work of over 108 regions and countries. The work going on the space station is not only there to help us with our exploration goals for how to go further into space, but also to bring back benefits for Earth and to produce a commercial marketplace in low Earth orbit. All three of these objectives, along with the international cooperation that it took to build such an amazing laboratory in space, are great examples of the objectives of the ISS program.
Kurt, we know that today's mission is critical to providing us with a steady cadence of operational flights. but why is it so important for us to have this capability from a research perspective?
That's a great question. Today's test flight brings us to the beginning of the commercial crew program, a commercial crew program which will raise our occupancy on the U.S. segment of the space station to 4 astronauts. And that 4th astronaut comes as a real premium to doing research on the space station. The tasks don't get particularly more intensive to do systems and maintenance, so that 4th astronaut, that time becomes dedicated to performing more science. In fact, enough time that it will essentially double the amount of crew time we have to perform experiments on board station.
All right, so the
The
launch isn't
return
coming just
to
yet.
U.S.
So that
soil
like an hour.
also brings us the ability to return
You
samples
stay
more
put. I'm
quickly
gonna fast forward to
and
it.
get human samples
Here we go.
back down to the ground more quickly.
Leaving at times, right? You see the blue skies peeking through and you think everything's fine, but
Currently, we're waiting
you
to see
just
if the
don't
weather's
know.
gonna be a
That's why we
showstopper.
have those launch weather officers.
Absolutely, and I know, we've talked about it before, but
T-minus 20
it's
something.
not just the weather in Florida that they're looking at. They've got to look at weather downrange. If they were to
can't
have
watch
an
the crazy
abort
weather.
in flight and they needed to come down somewhere in the ocean, they need to consider what the weather's like out there, because recovery teams have to go out and get them in a situation like that. So there's so many variables, and that's why. Not just
20.
with this flight, but with every human space flight we've had in the past, there's always a very good chance of a scrub because you do have so much criteria that you have
T-minus
to
20,
meet.
everybody. T-minus 20.
And we're going to listen in now. We're just seconds away from a weather update.
Stage 2, RP1 load complete.
That is liquid oxygen you see venting off the rocket. That's completely normal and expected. We're standing by for a weather update.
Unless you can give us another 10 minutes, I don't think we're going to get there with any of the rules today.
I'm going to give you 10 minutes.
I mean, another 10 minutes past T0.
Oh,
1640, 1645 local. I think we'll probably be clear on all the rules, but not quite going to make it for this.
Okay. We're going to check back in with you in about 2 minutes, and then I'll call it up at about T-minus 17 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, there's some of them are starting to count down, but we still have one above 2,000. So if that gets below,
Did they cut the audio?
And that didn't sound great right there. That was the weather net going out, but we're still standing by for a final decision.
Kind of exciting, nerve-wracking. History has shown some rockets like to explode on the way up. Some get canceled. Some make it to their destination. I think if this goes on, we'll be walking on the moon again. I think they're trying to get the first female to walk the moon. That'd be awesome too. I mean, it's not a biggie to me, but females, y'all gotta stand up. Give Charles too, you know what I'm saying? It's not a biggie to me because I think everybody should walk on the moon first.
And we're going to continue to listen in for an update, but in the meantime, we're going to go over to John Insprucker at SpaceX headquarters in California. John?
Even if you're in a wheelchair, we can put you on.
And Dragon SpaceX on weather, we're still not
T-minus
They've been sitting there for like 3
minutes.
hours.
Counting.
LD is
We are still
They're gonna be sitting there for hours more, but
expect
I
an
was
update from
annoyed.
LD.
We're waiting in about another minute for one final check with weather.
Shit, I gotta
We're going
pee.
to check at T-minus 17 minutes possibly. We don't really expect that things will have improved. The weather officer was not optimistic that the weather would clear up that rapidly. We did hear the launch director, Mike Taylor, joke that, if we could move 10 more minutes past the T0, weather conditions may improve, but Mike was not able to do that. We have an instantaneous window today. So at 17 minutes, we want to make that call because shortly after that, we will begin loading liquid oxygen onto the second stage. So if we're not going to have the opportunity to launch, if the clock's going to run out, stand by.
Continue to violate a couple different weather rules that
T-minus
now do
17.
not expect to clear in time to allow for launch today. Go ahead and today's
All right.
launch attempt.
So while we're sitting
Launch
here,
control. Go ahead and end the launch auto sequence and proceed into the launch.
a few reasons why we're going into space. Well, we're going up and coming back. We're not going to Mars. We're not going to the moon right now. We're just going to the International Space Station. Okay? Some 200 miles above us, something like that. But what's going up will be growing organs, 3D printing organs, things like that. Obviously, that's a win-win for me because I need a kidney or two. But, you know, growing organs, like human organs, for transplants, extending people's lives. It's just a big laboratory up there. So they're up there doing experiments. They're bringing some experiments back. But another thing that's going up, big pharma. Lots of medicines are being tested. I heard a rumor that they're sending up some stuff with coronavirus as well to work on a vaccine or just learn how it works, how to kill it, etc., etc. Obviously, things work different in space. No gravity, no oxygen. Maybe in more of a controlled environment. Don't have to worry about it escaping again. Things like that. I'm not 100% sure, but this is what I've been reading, what I've been hearing. Also, they're sending up supplies for the staff that's already there. There's 2 astronauts there. These 2 will make 4. So 4 astronauts means more results, more hands in the laboratory. They're also working on things that help everybody, such as besides growing organs, pharmaceuticals and stuff like that. But they're working on stuff to help give us better internet. They said they're working on some fiber optic developments, so networking a lot quicker. Even though we thought 2020, we never would have thought that we would have internet as fast as we have now, but they're trying to make it faster. And then on the way back down to Earth, they'll be bringing things like tissue experiments, like with the whole organ growing and just cells and things like that. A lot of veggie experiments. You know, they're growing plants and stuff up there, foods, not just for sustaining those astronauts, but think about when we get to Mars, we got to grow our own food. There's nothing up there for us right now, so we got to colonize it, I'll say. And then there's a bunch of other experiments, man. There's a lot that goes on up there. We don't think about it because it's out of sight, out of mind, but they've been up there for like 20-something years. Let's listen in. Want some more info. What's he doing with his fingers? They might have scrapped the launch.
Launch attempt is going to be coming
Saturday
at 3:22 p.m. Eastern time, so a little bit earlier in the day.
Launch
it's going to
canceled.
look largely
Launch
the same
canceled.
to everything that we saw today.
Weather conditions.
With the crew waking up,
So
going
Saturday
through
is
suit
the
up,
next
making their
attempt.
way to the pad. So we're gonna feel a lot of deja vu, I think, on Saturday.
All right, Twitch.
But still exciting. Safety is always
I'm about to turn
first,
the
so
game
if
back
weather
on.
was not there for us
But yeah,
today,
launch
hopefully
canceled,
Saturday
man.
it will be there for us and we will have
So
a
Saturday.
safe launch on Saturday.
Yeah, the initial weather report still had us at about, I think, a
And I got that
40%
information.
possibility of violation. So weather a little bit better, but we're still going to be kind of rolling the dice. It is Florida in the spring and summer, so storms are always
So
possible.
Saturday, May 30th,
one of the good things, though, the vehicle
3:22
appeared to be
Eastern
in great
time.
health.
So if you live in Las Vegas or California, that is noon.
Throughout the day, with Dragon and
12:22
Falcon9,
Saturday.
so we didn't have to scrub for any technical issue. We're going to continue and
They're saying they didn't have to scrub for any technical issues, but mainly just weather.
disarm that launch escape system. The crew arm will swing back out. They'll make their way once again back the way they came, and then it'll be back to crew quarters for Bob and Doug for a few more days. We were just a little under
Stage 1
17
LOX
minutes.
and fuel flow rates are nominal for offload. Expecting about a 40-minute offload time.
40 minutes to offload.
So that
That's a long time. They already been sitting there 3 hours.
call
They were
out
about to sit there for days
locks,
anyway.
the liquid.
Whatever. Anyways, man.
Oxygen fuel pumping out. The oxygen fuel pumping out.
Man, sucks that they canceled it, but it's okay. It was only weather, nothing crazy. And what can I say besides it's going down eventually? This will change the world, hopefully for the better. Soup.tv, man. We'll be back Saturday, 12 my time. I'll be doing another recording a little earlier in the day. I'll probably be watching this at... Let me think. Let me make sure. Because today it was supposed to launch now. Let's say 1:30 my time, 4:30 our time. If they start 4 hours before, yeah, I'll be walking into dialysis. But I'm definitely going to watch this. So, check in again. Like, subscribe. Watch my other videos. See you soon.